Hello class 10. As I have said you in the last class that I will resume your chapter from the experimental part. So today I am starting with the experiments on photosynthesis. Now first thing which you have to know for this chapter is the destarching or removal of starch. What is the process of removing starch from a plant? Because in many of the other experiments we will need it. See what we have to do. A plant used for experiments on photosynthesis should initially be placed in the dark for 24 to 48 hours to destarch the leaves. During this period, all the starch from the leaves will be removed to the storage organs and the leaves will not show the presence of starch. So it is a very simple way to destarch the leaves. Destarch means what? We have already read that when the glucose is synthesized, it is transformed into starch, which is an insoluble carbohydrate and is stored inside the plant body in the storage organs, right? So for destarching the leaves, what should we do? We should keep the plant in the dark, because if it will not get the light, then it will not show photosynthesis. So for 24 to 48 hours, we have to keep it in complete darkness to destarch the leaves. And all the starch will be removed in this duration from the storage organs. Now we have to test the leaf for starch, if any starch is present or not. For that, a very well-known test is there, that is iodine test. Dip the leaf in boiling water for a minute to kill the cells. Boil the leaf in methylated spirit over a water bath till it becomes pale white due to the removal of chlorophyll. The leaf now becomes hard and brittle. Place it again in hot water to soften it. Spread the leaf in a dish and pour iodine solution on it. The presence of starch will be indicated by a blue-black color. A leaf without starch will show brown coloration. That means first we are boiling it in the water to kill the cells. Then again we are boiling the leaf in methylated spirit so that it becomes pale white by the removal of chlorophyll. Now the leaf will become very hard and brittle. Now again we have to, that is why, place inside the hot water to soften it. After that, that softened leaf, over that we have to pour the iodine solution and we have to see the change in color. If it is turning blue-black, that means it contains starch. If it is turning brownish, then it is devoid of starch. Clear? Now this diagram is important, because maybe the diagram will be given to you and you will be asked question. So please practice the diagrams. Now, experiment 1. To show that chlorophyll is necessary for photosynthesis, take a plant with variegated leaves having some green and some non-green areas. I hope you have seen variegated plant where the leaves you get, of different colors. Maybe spotted leaves, green, non-green, green and yellow, green and red, like that. You see the plants, variegated plants. They have given some examples: coleus, geranium, croton. These are all, commonly found plants. These are all scientific names of those commonly found plants. So these plants we have to take for this experiment. And we have to destarch the leaves by keeping the plant in a dark room for few days, as we have just now learned. Now, after destarching, we have to place the plant in the sun. After a few hours, pluck one leaf and make its outline on paper. What outline we have to make? We have to mark the green and the non-green areas as the outline. Now we have to test the leaf for starch. Now what we will see? Now we'll see this kind of a thing as we are seeing in the diagram. The green parts will turn into bluish, showing the presence of starch, and see The non-green parts, the white parts, please observe properly. The white parts have turned into brown, showing the absence of starch. So definitely it proves that green portion, it consists of chlorophyll. So chlorophyll is necessary for photosynthesis, because if there was no photosynthesis, then there will be no starch. But because photosynthesis has occurred, so the starch has been produced, and it is showing the presence of starch with the bluish coloration. I hope it's clear. This diagram also you have to practice. Okay, now experiment 2, it is to show that sunlight is necessary for photosynthesis. Now here again we have to take a plant with destarched leaves. I have told you earlier only that destarch technique is very important for performing the for photosynthesis experiments. Cover one of its leaves with black paper on which a design is cut. See this diagram they have shown. Place this plant again in the sun. After a few hours, test the leaf for the presence of starch, which is covered by black paper. It will be observed that only the parts of the leaf which could get light through the cutout design, as well as those that were left uncovered by the paper, that means the exposed parts. Simply we can tell that the exposed parts which are exposed to sunlight, they are turning blue-black, showing the presence of starch, and the other parts are showing the brown coloration. That means no photosynthesis. That means sunlight is very important or is necessary for photosynthesis. Clear? Now again this diagram you have to practice. Now students, one thing I want to say you that if suppose you need to draw the diagram in your board exams, please carry pencil colors, so that you can properly show the differences. Clear? And if already the diagram is given to you and you have been asked the contextual questions, then it's okay. But if you need to draw it, in that case please carry with you in your board exams the colored pencils. Now experiment 3, to show that carbon dioxide is necessary for photosynthesis. Again, we have to take a plant with destarched leaves and insert one of its leaves into a conical flask containing potassium hydroxide. Why potassium hydroxide? Because potassium hydroxide absorbs carbon dioxide. Then we have to leave the plant in sunlight, and again after a few hours we'll test for the presence of starch. Now let me show you the setup. And this experiment is a very common question in your ICSE. So please practice the diagram. See, this is the diagram. If you go through the test papers also, you can get a lot of questions regarding this diagram. Here you see we have taken this is the conical flask, and here we have taken potassium hydroxide. With the slit cut in the cork, we have inserted a leaf, and because KOH is there, so no carbon dioxide is present, all are being absorbed. After that we are keeping that in the sun and we are testing for the starch. The leaf which was exposed to the atmospheric air, that means these leaves, okay, becomes blue-black, and the one which was inside the flask containing potassium hydroxide does not become blue-black, showing that carbon dioxide is necessary for photosynthesis. So these leaves will show the blue-black color, and this will show the brown color. Clear? So CO2 is necessary for photosynthesis. We can prove it. Same experiment can be modified as it has been shown over here. This is another one where a single leaf has been inserted, half inside and half outside. So when we'll test for the starch, we'll get to see that the inside portion is showing the brown coloration, and the outside portion is showing the blue-black color. So very simple and very clear, I think. Now experiment number 4, to show that oxygen is produced during photosynthesis. Now up to experiment 3 we have learned, which things are necessary for photosynthesis, but now we are going through that which is the product of photosynthesis. Now oxygen, how to understand that? We have to place some water plants. Take it as hydrilla because it's a very commonly found plant, in a beaker containing pond water, and cover them by a short stemmed funnel. Short stemmed funnel means this one, short stemmed funnel. Okay. Now invert the test tube full of water over the stem of the funnel. This is the stem of the funnel, and we have inverted this test tube full of water over that. Place the apparatus in the sun for a few hours. We can see bubbles of gases coming out. You can see bubbles of gases will coming out, and they are collecting at the top here. Now that means they are collecting, that means the gas is collecting in the test tube. Now what gas is this? That we have to uh, test. Now I hope you have learnt in your chemistry also, a glowing splinter bursts into flame, which shows the presence of oxygen. So this is a very common experiment in your chemistry also, to prove the presence of oxygen. A glowing splinter, because oxygen supports combustion. We all know that. So definitely when a glowing splinter will burst into flame, it will definitely prove that this gas is nothing but oxygen. So oxygen is liberated out as a byproduct during photosynthesis. I hope it's clear, students, and this diagram is also very important, as you know. Now another thing which is very, not very important, but you have to go through it once, that is importance of photosynthesis. We all know it actually. This is a very important part, but I hope you can write it in your own also. First of all, it provides food, because we have learned earlier in the earlier classes about the food chain, and we know that the herbivores are consuming the plant energy directly, and the carnivores are getting in the chain afterwards in the food chain, and they are getting less amount of energy in, because they are getting indirectly that solar energy from the plant. So definitely it provides food to the whole animal world. Clear? Next, just now we have read, it is very important that it provides oxygen, the life supporting gas, to all of us. Clear? So almost all organisms need oxygen for respiration, and it is important. Now the last part of this chapter is carbon cycle. Carbon cycle is a series of chemical reactions in which carbon is removed from the air used by living organisms in their body processes, and is finally returned to the air. Because carbon is being removed as a chemical element in CO2. Right? We all know that. We are liberating out CO2 and we are removing carbon from our body. Now the essential steps in the carbon cycle: photosynthesis, food chains, respiration, decay, combustion, and a certain amount of carbon dioxide is released during heating or burning of limestone in lime kilns. So these are the essential steps in carbon cycle. Just the names I think will do. And this diagram you practice for carbon cycle. Okay, this diagram will help you in in explaining the process also. So please practice this diagram. Clear, students? So students, we are done with photosynthesis chapter. It is a very important chapter from plant physiology for your board exams. Go through the experiments, go through the diagrams, the theories which we have learned, the sugar concentration theory, the potassium ion concentration theory. Those theories are important. Chloroplast structure is important, and go through the test paper also. If you find any problem, you can ask me in the comment box. Go through the question answers, because it's not possible to solve the question answers so much through here. But if you are facing any problem, please ask me. I will definitely try to solve your problem through this online classes, because you know that we have no other options now. So please go through the chapter properly, and till now we have completed many chapters from your class 10's book. So go through all the chapters repeatedly so that you don't forget any of the chapters. Okay. If you have any other problem regarding any other previous classes, previous chapters which we have already completed, that also you can ask me. Clear? Thank you, students.